This is the economy that allows for end users like you and myself to go on websites and access that content for free. That's how they generate revenue. This is a free platform. The ad spaces are auctioned up in real time. You have 150 milliseconds, come back with an ad and a price. We do that over 500 billion times a day. When generative AI is a very hot topic, video production used to be a big thing. One way AI is changing that is with these advanced multimodal models that are capable of video creation. It's a great time to start a company. Those that make it out of this era that we're in, I think they'll do very well. I say go out there, start a company. It's a great time to do it. There's great talent in the company.
Today we're diving into the critical world of pragmatic advertising, venture capital, and early stage innovation, focusing on how a leading Canadian firm is accelerating the ad technology evolution and backing the next generation of startups. This is Maheen from CanadianSME Small Business Magazine, and welcome to the Canadian SME Podcast, where we explore the strategic insights and innovative approaches that empower entrepreneurs to build and scale world-class ventures. Now, today we're diving into the critical world of pragmatic advertising, venture capital, and early stage innovation, focusing on how a leading Canadian firm is accelerating the ad technology evolution and backing the next generation of startups. Because in today's dynamic market, the ability to democratize data access, maintain transparency, and leverage emerging technologies like AI is paramount for success on the open internet. Our guest is a recognized pioneer who has been at the forefront of edtech for over 20 years. Joining us is Mayuran Yogarajah, the head of IX Labs and distinguished engineer of Index Exchange, the corporate venture arm of Index Exchange, and the company's first distinguished engineer. Mayuran is part of the founding team of the Index Exchange and has played an integral role in the development and growth of its software and engineering teams. IX Labs invests in technology for startups in sectors like fintech, agtech, and IoT. Today, we'll discuss the power of early stage innovation in IX Labs' investment philosophy, explore how Index Marketplaces is fueling new growth, delve into the critical role of AI in pragmatic advertising, and look at the importance of human-centric approach to a high-growth tech career. So without further ado, let's welcome our guest, Mayuran. Mayuran, we're very pleased to have you on the show today. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having us. I'm excited to be here.
Very pleased to have you with us. Mayuran, you head up IX Labs, the corporate venture arm of Index Exchange, which invests in early stage startups that use technology to solve everyday problems. We'd love for the audience to understand what really is the Index Exchange, and if you could tell us a bit more about the IX Labs as well.
For sure. So Index has been around for nearly 23 years, believe it or not. We were founded in June of 2003. This is an era without cell phones. Google hadn't IPO'd yet. The cloud as a concept did not exist. So it was a very different time. The genesis for the company, if you will, is our founder and CEO, Andrew Casale, started off as a publisher. So he had websites that he wrote content for, talking about shows like Survivor. And what he found was that as you had more and more traffic to his websites, the advertising networks took notice and they said, hey, if you drop a couple of lines of JavaScript on the page, then you could start generating money. Mm-hmm. This was super exciting for him because when he started all this, he was about 14 years old. So it was a very exciting prospect for him. And he started getting into serving ads on the pages. And that was sort of the genesis, the lead up to the company. And he quickly found that he was very frustrated, right? Like he didn't think there was enough transparency. That's why it's a big part of our core messaging, the transparency angle. He thought that the prices were not what the margins are not what they should be. And he decided, I'm going to spend a big chunk of my life to try and address this. So he launched Casale Media. We started as a media network. And the media network is very different from what we do now because we had all the demand in-house. We worked directly with advertisers and agencies and publishers, and we would connect the audiences to the campaigns through our platforms internally. So that's sort of the lead up to Casale Media. It was around 2008, not long after the '08 financial crisis, that the emergence of what would eventually become programmatic, at the time it was called RTB, real-time bidding, that was emerging. And that was the idea that you had external demand coming into the ad, the impression opportunity in real time, which at the time was unheard of. The technology just didn't exist for it. And finally, when the technology did come around, that was when we were able to do things like bring in external demand. So for a short period, we were doing that, late nights and evenings because we had the media network to run. And then eventually that took up more and more of our time. And then we decided to spin off and became a full-time exchange. And that was the birth of Index Exchange. A couple of unusual things about the company: we're entirely bootstrapped. We have not taken any outside capital. We've grown to over 600 people globally, 16 offices worldwide. I would say the other unusual thing about us is we're entirely on-prem. Our platform, which sees the entirety of the open web, over 500 billion requests. We're talking 570 billion requests every day. Our internal teams own and operate and manage the infrastructure for that. So we have thousands of servers across the world to enable this.
That is amazing. That's such a great overview. Thank you so much for that, Mayuran. Mayuran, you head up IX Labs, the corporate venture arm of Index Exchange, which invests in early stage startups that use technology to solve everyday problems. Please tell us what inspired Index Exchange to launch IX Labs and invest in areas like fintech, agtech, and IoT, and what problems are you solving, and how does your team help startups scale innovation?
For sure. So this for us is a relatively new venture. So we launched IX Labs shortly around COVID, believe it or not. Really, it was a way for us to tap into emerging techs, new technologies that are coming out. So the idea was that we would back leading companies, really strong founders and leaders, and would help them operate and scale globally through our partnership and support.
That is a very clear strategic mission, Mayuran, and it kind of highlights that innovation in one sector can create ripple effects far beyond its original industry. Now let's kind of explore a major recent accomplishment, which is the launch of the Index Marketplace's data vendor ecosystem and its impact on the open internet. Mayuran, you recently launched this data vendor ecosystem, which is such a major initiative designed to level the playing field for data vendors and media owners. How do the data vendor ecosystem and Index Marketplaces foster open innovation, and how can Canadian startups use this platform to grow and compete with industry giants without really the extra fees?
So the marketplace product is really our sell-side decisioning framework, and to really understand what that is, we have to explain how the market worked prior to that, right? So if you think about it, the open internet, as we know it, this is all the internet traffic that's outside of the walled gardens, like Meta or Alphabet. That traffic is monetized through platforms like us, and the reason they monetize that is because that's how the businesses survive. That's how they generate revenue. So there's this very large economy that's behind ad tech, and that's the space that we play in. It's in something specifically called programmatic. And what happens is the ad spaces are auctioned up in real time. So to give you a concrete example, if you go to a website at the moment of loading, it'll reach out to a number of partners to monetize that ad slot. So those requests will come to us. We'll go to pre-integrated buyers downstream, and we'll say to them, you have 150 milliseconds, come back with an ad and a price. Mm-hmm. Now, when the auction clears, when the time is up, it'll go back to the website. It'll render. The whole thing lasts about 200 milliseconds, which is a blink of an eye. And we do that over 500 billion times a day. So we're talking 570 billion requests. Each request with an average lifespan of about 200 milliseconds. So it's a very large throughput, low latency platform. And to answer your question about marketplace, what used to happen is that a lot of the value creation that exists in advertising and online advertising typically happens on the buy side. So if you take maybe like a verification vendor like IAS, or you take a creative optimization platform, or like a custom bidding algorithm, or someone doing data activation or audience extension, they generally run on the buy side. And what we've done is with sell-side decisioning, we've allowed those same value creators to also operate those same products and services on the supply side. And what that allows for is greater economies of scale. So for instance, when we send our requests down to the bidding platforms, we generally only send a small portion of that. Is largely due to costs and QPS constraints. So if you think about it, we can't send the entirety of the open internet traffic every day to the bidding platforms because the cost would be just astronomical, right? So they rely on us to really narrow down that traffic into what's relevant and important to their brands and marketers. So they don't see the full footprint, if you will, of the supply that we get. So what sell-side decisioning allows you to do is you get access to that full footprint, and then you can run your product or service in the middle layer on the supplier layer, earlier in the funnel, top of funnel, and you get to access as much of that footprint as you want and apply your secret sauce to it. So it could be a custom bidding algorithm, it could be a curator, it could be audience extension, what have you. And like you said, for us, a big differentiator here is we're not taking a fee. For us, this is a free platform. We're giving it away. The way we win is through our partners winning, and we have our fees set up through the publishers, which has always been in place. For us, this is about scale. We think that over time, with scale, that's where we'll make our revenues. And it's a differentiator in the market. We're not the first to marketplace. There's other curation platforms already in the space, but that's a differentiator for us. And the way we look at it is we're not always first to market, but we like to do it well. We're kind of like the people that show up late to a party, except we're bringing the alcohol.
That's a vital strategic move, Mayuran, and it emphasizes transparency and efficiency, which are the core to Index Exchange's mission. This is if you are looking for a strategic partner to help you scale your startup and really understand the future of advertising, then please learn from this conversation that we had with Mayuran about early stage innovation, how AI is transforming programmatic advertising, and the power of index marketplaces to help you grow your business on the open internet. Now let's continue our conversation with Mayuran. Now let's discuss how AI and custom bidding are currently reshaping the programmatic advertising world. Because AI and custom bidding, they're rapidly reshaping this industry, and you've been leading the growth and evolution of Index's software for over 20 years. Mayuran, tell us, how are AI and machine learning transforming programmatic advertising and boosting ROAS, and how is the open internet adapting to stay a key growth engines for brands?
Absolutely. And, I think it's important to highlight why the open internet it matters, right? Like, this is the economy that allows for end users like you and myself to go on websites and access that content for free.
Right.
So it's important to power the creators, the content creators. It's important to power journalism. This is their main revenue driver. This is how they generate money for the company. These are businesses at the end of the day, and they generate revenues through platforms like us for advertising. To answer your question about AI, AI is not necessarily new in this space. Like, machine learning has been around for a long time. We've actually done an acquisition in Berlin that does traffic shaping. A big problem that marketers have is they have a very large funnel that they can't access, and they, for companies like us, we have to figure out and determine what's usable and interesting for the buying platforms and for the brands and advertisers. So that's what the acquisition in Berlin was about. Is a company called River, which has been fully integrated. Fast forward to today, when generative AI is a very hot topic and very trending. You now have these advanced methodologies that allow for all kinds of interesting prospects. For instance, video production used to be a big thing. If you're in that space and you wanted to create an ad, it used to be that you had a full team that would get together. It's costly, it's time consuming. So one way AI is changing that is with these advanced multimodal models that are capable of video creation. So take Sora, for instance, right? That's one way. On the flip side, there is also, like with everything else, you have to take the good with the bad. One thing that we've seen is the emergence and rise of what's called made for advertising websites. So these are not real websites. They're generated. They're made specifically to generate impressions and revenue on traffic that's not necessarily legit or valuable. And you can do that easily, or at least much more easily because of AI. You can just spawn up new websites all the time. Right. And we've done a pretty good job of eliminating MFA from our traffic.
That is a crucial strategic overview, Mayuran, and it highlights that AI is turning programmatic bidding from a reactive process to a predictive one. We'll take a quick break. Stay with us because when we return, Mayuran takes us behind the scenes of building agile, high-performing engineering teams and the mindset that drives long-term innovation at the Index Exchange.
Hey, you think you know UPS? Yeah, that's us. Everybody knows that. You know what you didn't know? This. Okay, try to keep up. Ocean, us. Ground, rail, air, so us. Guess who? Us. Customs cleared, borders cleared, done. Us. Still with me? Wait for it. Boom. Us. Intelligent, automated, fulfillment. Us. Yep. Healthcare too. Digital your thing? Yeah. Well, book it, ship it, track it. You feeling me yet? Yep. That's all us. That's all UPS.
Welcome back, everyone. Let's jump right in as Mayuran reveals how discipline, adaptability, and people-first leadership fuel success in a fast-paced tech environment. Now let's look at your unique background, leadership style, and what it takes to build a high-performing engineering team. Mayuran, you were Index Exchange's second employee and the longest-standing engineer, having expanded the engineering team from its inception to over 170 professionals. And this requires immense focus on people and process. Please tell us, how do you keep engineering teams lean and agile while scaling fast? And how do lessons from Muay Thai and Mike Tyson influence your strategic approach to product strategy and team culture?
So engineering is a big part of the company. We're an engineering company at the end of the day. It's our largest division within the company, and the budgets reflect that. So it's something we take very seriously. There's over 250 engineers, which is almost half the company. So it's a pretty big group. I served as CTO for 16, 17 years. So I was fortunate enough to see the evolution of the company from a very small startup to we're over 600 people now in 16 offices worldwide. For us, problem solving was a big skill that we looked at in interviews. So for instance, a lot of the engineers in the early days, we would have very specific needs that we would look for, whether it's specific program languages or specific attributes that you can tie back to technologies. One of the things that I found that worked for me was to have some focus on that, but also have a lot more focus on problem solving in general, because I find that, especially now with AI, when you have vibe coding is such a thing now, if you can problem solve and you've got some comp sci fundamentals, you could a lot of that's interchangeable, right? Mm-hmm. So that was a big part of how I created our structure and how we structured the teams internally. We follow agile methodologies. That's a big part of our processes as well.
That's a fascinating combination. And it suggests that discipline, focus, and strategic thinking are very important in both the martial arts and scaling a high-tech growth company. Finally, let's discuss your investment in the first-party capital and your commitment to fueling innovation globally. Mayuran, IX Labs recently announced a multi-million-pound investment in first-party capital to launch Fund 2, reinforcing your commitment to fueling innovation across the open internet. Please tell us, what does this investment show about Index Exchange's commitment to global pragmatic growth, and what is your long-term vision for the open internet in the AI-driven data exchanging or data changing world?
Well, for us, there are two funds that we've invested in: First Party Capital and Aperium. First Party Capital covers Europe, Aperium covers North America. For us, the fund investments are not really about return on capital. For us, this is about enabling the next generation of companies, of agtech startup, to really scale and grow, build with index and on index, right? One of the cool things about the platform is that you don't necessarily have to be a big player to get derive a lot of value from it, right? So we have these smaller companies that are able to get up and running on the platform very quickly because they suddenly have access to this massive supply footprint across multiple channels, whether it's desktop, mobile, connected TV. Streaming is a big part of our business now. So any company that wants to get access to that supply and apply some magic sauce to it, whether it's custom bidding or curation or data audience extension, they're now able to quickly ramp up and get access to that supply. We also manage all of the infrastructure when it comes to payments as well, right? So they don't have to worry about invoicing that they have to collect on and pay. We handle all that internally, and we've had that in place for a long time. So all the financial pipes that we have in place, they get to benefit from as well.
That's such an inspiring vision, and it's clear that Index Exchange is committed to upholding the integrity and innovation of the programmatic ecosystem. This has been a very enlightening episode with you, Mayuran. Thank you so much for your time. Really, the insights that you've shared on IX Labs, the open internet, and tech innovation has been very inspiring. Now that we wrap up, if there's one key message that you'd share with Canadian SMEs about using technology to build resilient businesses, what would it be?
I mean, broadly speaking, I think it's a great time to start a company. I think great companies are made when the markets are not the best. I think for existing companies, those that make it out of this era that we're in with inflation and the tariffs, I think they'll do very well. I think when you're in this situation, you're really forced to get creative to stay alive and proceed to the next stage. So the ones that do it are going to do very well. I also think I'll double down and say that it's a great time to start a company. One thing that we're extremely proud of is we're a Canadian company. We were founded here. We're based here. Our headquarters is here in Toronto at the Well, downtown Toronto. And a great number of our staff and our technical engineering team is here in Toronto as well. We also have offices in Kitchener and Montreal. Mm-hmm. The reason I highlight that is because we have incredible talent here in Toronto, here in Canada, and I would be remiss if I didn't highlight that. In terms of advice, I say go out there, start a company. It's a great time to do it. There's great talent in the company, in the country rather. There's lots of exciting programs that can help fund that as well.
That is a very actionable and a powerful message, Mayuran. Thank you so much for sharing that. But really, it was a pleasure having you on the show today. Thank you so much again for sharing such great expertise and your insights with us. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
And that was an insightful conversation with Mayuran on the power of early stage innovation, fueling new innovation and growth through index marketplaces, and the impact of AI and custom bidding on pragmatic advertising and the open internet. Thank you so much for tuning into the podcast. We really appreciate your continued support. Please be sure to subscribe to our podcast for more expert insights and resources that can help your business thrive. You can also visit our website, CanadianSME.ca, for valuable information and tools. Before we leave, a special shout out to our partners, RBC, UPS, A1 Global College, ADP, and Google for their ongoing commitment to empowering small businesses in Canada. Until next time, please keep innovating and striving for success. We'll see you in the next episode.